Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the State of the Union Address with me, Evangeline Byars, your presidential candidate. And today I wanted to take the time to talk to you about the upcoming election and where our union is at the moment and what we need to do moving into the future. So I've been going around talking to the members of Local 100, our membership, about the upcoming election and what it is that you all would like to see happen in this upcoming election. And what has become very clear is that wages, health and safety, contractors, assaults, that all of these things have become very pervasive issues that are affecting our membership. So I just wanted to spend some time with you today to talk about my plan coming into this upcoming election to deal with so many things. One of the things are striking. Many of you have expressed, since seeing what has just happened with the international longshoremen, would Local 100 be able to strike? So I just want to go into talking about what would that mean and what would that look like? What would striking look like for the members of Local 100? First of all, back in 2005, when Roger Toussaint struck, one of the things that occurred was that Local 100 lost their right to strike. By losing the right to strike, we no longer, under the Taylor law, have the right to strike. If we strike, we're penalized for every 1 day for 2 days, and we lose dues checkoff. Basically, that would force our union to go into poverty, right? To break our union, we go into poverty, we wouldn't be able to function anymore, we would be financially destitute. And so, in order for us to strike, what we have to do is we would have to go to court. We would have to sue. Now, this lawsuit that was taken off of the table that I'm talking about was first implemented and came about under Roger Toussaint. The International Labor Organization ruled that it was unconstitutional to take away our right to strike, and that Roger Toussaint should be compensated for the fees and the fines that were levied against him because he struck. On the basis that in the international community and on the world stage, everybody else has the right to strike. That is unconstitutional that civil servants in New York City and state cannot strike. So Roger Toussaint started the fight. When John Samuelson came into office, when he became president, he killed our right, our fight to be able to move forward and strike. To fight to get our right to strike back. Because he did that, it basically took away some of our powers and some of our muscle to push back against the transit authority, because we no longer had the right to strike, and now there was no threat of us getting it back because John Samuelson had now taken it off the table. So one of the things that I have to do coming in as president is to reinstate that lawsuit. No governor, no mayor, no assembly person, no one in the Senate or the city council is going to fight for us to get our right to strike, because it will cripple New York City and affect the larger economy if we were to strike. However, we are so behind in raises and benefits that it's moving down the path that we will have no other choice. So let's talk about pay raises and all of the things that we're dealing with when we talk about wages and benefits. Currently, as TW Local 100 members, we are way behind in wages and benefits. Under my administration, we will move away from pattern bargaining. Currently, with DC, we bargain, or our bargaining is patterned after DC 37. DC 37 is a clerical union. Why are we patterning our bargaining after unions a union that is not transportation. We should be bargaining, sector bargaining, along with the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. Now, many people would say, oh, those are federal agencies, we can't do it, and they will go into all of this rhetoric, but that's not true. The Metro North and the Long Island Railroad are a part of the MTA, and we should be getting wages and benefits in step with the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. And where we can gain more, we should be gaining more. So we have to depart from pattern bargaining with DC 37 and go into sector bargaining. We no longer have cost of living adjustments in our contract. So even the wages and benefits that we have received just now, you do not feel it. We all have adjusted ourselves to working overtime to supplement our income for the fact that we are not getting the proper pay raises that we're supposed to have. This is very, very crucial, because not only has the Transit Authority not given us wages in step with inflation, cost of living adjustment being gone, another issue that we have when it comes to this is that now that they are not giving overtime is not available the way it used to be, they have now are not allowing us dual employment. Many people are being fired or their dual employment just flat out denied. The union is not fighting it. I want you to understand how grievances work. When you, the member, bring a grievance, it can only go to the step 1 and step 2 phase. To go to an arbitrator, it's up to the union to decide that that grievance is going to go forth. If they do not agree that the grievance goes forth, it is killed right there. And that's where most of our grievances lay, in abeyance. Nothing can happen to it because the union is not moving it forward, right? So not only do we not have wages in step with inflation, again, we are not being allowed to do dual employment, which is forcing us into a financial situation to where you have to make a choice. Do I stay here and work at transit, or do I keep the second job that I have and then try to get another one to sort of balance, my salary and what it is that I'm going to do, because it no longer makes sense. To rent an apartment in New York City right now, a 1-bedroom apartment, starting rate is at $3,000, and that is in any neighborhood, right? So if that is the market rate of what it is to get an apartment, that's what it is. And now also, when it goes into affordable housing, we oftentimes are denied because our income is either a little above or a little below what the median income is to qualify for those residents, right? So we are in a state of emergency, and we have seen with the administrations from Samuelson, Gaetano, and now Davis, that our livelihood and what is important to us does not matter to them. So it is now our time to take back our union and move us where it is that we need to go into the future to secure our future. I want us to understand that if our contract dissolves, so does our jobs. Throughout the union, we are witnessing the property being overrun by contractors. Contractors are now becoming the prevailing body of worker that is doing work in the Department of MOW. Not only in MOW, we see it happening with the TTPAs. Their jobs are now going to private security companies. We see it happening in CED, where their jobs are now contracted out, where they're working next to contractors. And the Department of Buses, it's only a matter of time in the area of maintenance that you see contractors working next to our maintenance workers, and our maintenance members. The reason why this issue of contracting out by exclusive work is so important is that if the Transit Authority continues to be able to replace us with contractors, and we have a union that has stopped bidding on jobs. Because understand, in order for contractors to come on the property and do our exclusive work, that means that there was a bidding process that had taken place for them to get the contract to come on to get the contract to come on to do those jobs. As I've been going around and talking to structure maintainers and track workers and signal maintainers, right? What is very, very prevalent and tracked in those departments and power is that contractors are more and more doing our exclusive work. Everyone is concerned about job security. As your president, we will overhaul the area of the farming out we will overhaul the farming out committee. We will reinstitute it. We will bring it back with a new team, the way it's supposed to be comprised, and we will begin the bidding process again of bidding to keep our work in-house. If we do not do this, the fact that you already are not getting overtime, a lot of people are just sitting around, they're not even working, because now the transit authority is getting what they want and being able to bring in contractors to do the work. When contractors are on the property, they don't have to worry about safety, because if they get injured, if anything goes wrong, it doesn't have anything to do with them. It's on it's on the part of the contractor. Transit authority has nothing to do with that, right? And so they want it to be that way. And so it's very important that we understand that. The next thing I want to talk about is Tier 6, poverty pensions. All of us who are Tier 6, we will be the first tier to retire in poverty. The only way that we are going to be able to change the system of a poverty pension is that we are going to have to be in the forefront of a statewide movement to fix Tier 6. Again, there's going to be no governor. There's going to be no assembly person. There's going to be no senator that comes along and says, you know what? This Tier 6 pension is horrible and we have to do something about it. They haven't done anything to date. And the same people at Local 100, the Richie Davids, the Mike Corderos, these are all the people who voted that it was okay for us to become Tier 6. No one's going to do anything about it. They keep telling you, oh, we'll rally, we'll go talk to the legislature. They all have their papers in their pockets, which is why we call them pimps. Papers in my pocket, right? Meaning they can leave at any moment and it does not affect them. The things that are happening to us are happening to us the way it's happening because of the fact that the people who are in charge of this union have no skin in the game. They've given back our retiree medical. And let's talk about that because it's a very serious situation that's going on. We have now sued in court to get back our retiree medical benefits. I'm going to say that again. We are now in court suing the MTA and TWU Local 100 to get back our retiree medical benefits. The only way we are going to have the promise of lifetime medical again is that we are now in court. This past contract, Richard Davis, the appointed president, gave back our retiree medical benefits without reading the contract. He never looked at the contract to see what it was that he was signing off on. And now, 22,000 of our members have been affected. Our retirees, rather. Former members of Local 100, now retirees, have been affected. They no longer have access to traditional Medicare. And a lot of people don't understand what this means. What this means is that when you turn 65, you normally would go into traditional Medicare and you would have a PPO, a CPPO that would cover you of 20%. We gave that back. Now you have Medicare Advantage plans, which is private insurance. We have opted out. And how are we able to do that? Because we are a union And the law states that if we are going to provide something that is superior or better, we do not have to follow the law, which gave them a loophole and a way out of us being able to opt into traditional Medicare and those premiums be on the employer, right? What they did was opt into Medicare Advantage plans where you have to be approved and where there are not a lot of networks that take Medicare Advantage. So it forces you to either have to pay for care out of your own pocket or opt out of your benefits altogether so that you can go into traditional Medicare, and then you would have to buy your own 20% CPPO, right? And why is this important? Because when you retire, you're on a fixed income. You should not be getting denied care for cancer treatment if you need to have knee replacement, hip replacement, if you need to go to the hospital for special surgery. Whatever it is that you need to do, because you've paid into Medicare your whole life, you should be able to access the benefit. Even wealthy people assign their wealth to their children just to get on Medicare because of how great the system is when you're a part of it, right? You're not denied care. Care is approved. When you go to your doctor, if you need surgery, if you need treatment, they just give it to you. So the fact that our union has opted out, this is almost criminal. We have heard testimonies of people being denied defibrillators, cancer treatment. We have a gentleman, Mr. Rosenberg, who is now, Mr. Rosenberg is now preparing to bury his wife. He's believing that she is not going to make it because she was not able to get the level of care that she was supposed to have. And this is important. So, as a local, we are in serious times. I want to bring up the issue of the privatizing of comp. Workers' compensation now is privatized as well. Any member that is injured or assaulted on the job has to go through Corvell for 30 days. However, no one has properly explained how to access Corvell, how to use it. And so what has happened to many of our members, if Corvell does not have a doctor or cannot make an appointment for them within the 30-day time period that they have to go get care treatment for whatever the injury is. If they do not see a doctor within 30 days, their cases are being controverted, right? They're being denied due to the fact that they did not see a doctor in a timely manner and did not know that at the end, when you finish using Corvell, you can just opt out of Corvell. All you have to do is send one sentence saying, I, Evangeline Byars, opt out of Corvell and elect to use my own primary care physician or my own doctor, not even primary care, but my own comp doctor, right? And so because we're not doing that, right? Because we're not doing that, that is the problem. That is what we're dealing with. And so many of our members and now cases are being controverted because of that. It seems as if they privatized FMLA. The union is no longer manages FMLA. The union no longer manages workers' comp. And as a result of that, the union now can say when things go wrong, it's not their problem, but it is their problem. It's our problem because so many of our members are working injured or being denied comp, their cases being picked up because of the fact that they did not see a doctor in a timely manner. So it's very important that we understand what's happening right now when it comes to dealing with workers' compensation. And that when we come into office, when the Stronger Together team comes in, the slate comes in, under my administration, that we're gonna make all of these issues a top priority, right? Now, this past week we saw one of our brothers, Mr. Myron Pollock, was not only assaulted, but someone attempted to murder him. Jonathan Davalos attempted to murder him this past week. In order to get justice for Mr. Pollock, we all, not just the union elected officers, had to show up in mass number to stand in the face of the legal system and the judge to let them know that our lives matter too, and that we're no longer going to put up with people assaulting us and injuring us, severely injuring us, or almost killing us and being let go. And let me help you to understand why it's important to participate, to show up to court. Back in June, we had another bus op, we had another member assaulted. His name was Mr. Isaac. Mr. Isaac, we all watched as blood poured out of his face from being stabbed in the face while in the performance of his job duties. Well, the person that stabbed him in the face, the union never showed up to court for Mr. Isaac. They did nothing to ensure that justice was done on behalf of Mr. Isaac. And because none of us were there, because nobody showed up on the behalf of Mr. Isaac, the union did not let us know what was happening. And even this past week, right, we did not find out about what was happening to Mr. Pollock or the court, what was going on from the union. We all had to find out through people telling us, receiving phone calls, being made aware of what was going on. That morning, there was no one at the courthouse for Mr. Pollock when they were scheduled, getting ready to arraign Mr. Davalos. Because the judge wound up hearing his case after lunch, it gave myself and everybody else who showed up time to get there so that we could be present for Mr. Pollock's the arraignment of the perpetrator who stabbed him. But in the case of Mr. Isaac, no one showed up for him. And Mr. Isaac case was never paid out on his case. They basically starved him back to work. He has received no justice. And here's the kicker. The person who stabbed him in the face, his case was dismissed because the DA did not bring it before the grand jury in time, so his case was dismissed, and now he is suing the transit authority. He is now the victim, the person who stabbed Mr. Isaac in the face. And remember, during that time, I had put up that we were going to do a whole rally for Mr. Isaac, and then I paused because I wanted to see what was going to be the response of the union. I'm not an elected officer, right? The union has the jurisdiction and the weight of the office behind it to do something about these things, and they did nothing. No one did anything. There was one young lady walking around, which somebody put her up to, holding a banner, walking around, saying our lives matter or whatever, but there was no union reps present. They did absolutely nothing. And I remember attending a rally, an Enough is Enough rally, where everybody showed up who was opposition people at East New York Depot, and it was said if anything else happened to any of our members, that they would shut this city down, that no buses, no cars, no nothing would go across the Brooklyn Bridge, that they would tie it all up until we got justice. Well, we haven't seen anything yet. Let's see after this video goes, and they get the chance to listen to what it is that I'm talking about, if our union is going to step up and do anything seriously about assault. They're not going to do it because they don't care. They're still going to give the DAs money and make sure that they're well funded for their campaigns, while transit workers' lives do not matter. It should be more than a 7-year offense if you attack a transit worker. We carry no guns. We have no knives, no weapons, nothing to defend ourselves. And we're put in harm's way every day. The mayor of this city and the governor of the state has refused to properly fund mental health institutions, forcing the most vulnerable of our society into the subway system. And when they have these psychotic episodes, when they're off of their meds, when they're high on drugs, guess who becomes their target? We, transit workers, the riding public. We take the blunt of the injuries if we're not being pushed in front of trains, stabbed, our cab doors kicked in, robbed, and all other kind of assaults and crimes being enacted on us, all because there has been a breakdown and a failure in the areas that mean the most. So now, we've cried and we've asked them to put police officers in the subway system. We have police officers sometime. Fortunately for us, on the day of the attack, there were police officers on the platform. But those police officers need to be expanded throughout the system, at every terminal. No longer should any train operators or conductors be cleaning out trains. If there is one soul on a train that should not go into the tunnel to relay, to come back and forth, to lay up a train. Trains should always be double-ended. However, no one should be on the trains. So the answer is not just to double end the trains, but are you going to take all of the people off? It's not our job to keep service going if our safety is at stake. It is very important that we understand it. And as someone who is Tier 6, who understands everything that is happening to us in this system, it is your time to elect a candidate, someone who is not telling you what they're going to do, but is actively doing it. I have multiple cases in court against the Transit Authority for discrimination, wrongful terminations, religious observance. There's no candidate in this race that has made women's issues a top priority, that has fought back against the Transit Authority in the way that they understand, which is legally. They understand legalese. They don't understand when you just make a complaint. But when you start filing Division of Human Rights complaints, when you start going to court to say I was wrongfully terminated, my job was stolen from me, this is what they've done to violate my rights and the contract, and this is discrimination, guess what? The Transit Authority settled. This past week, a young woman who came to me for assistance about a year and a half ago, I got her legal representation. She sued in court for wrongful termination, right? But we had to go under discrimination because of what they've done to her. She is now headed back to work with damages. There's nobody with my track record. Produce one candidate in this election that has been as vigilant and as on it when it comes to job security and protecting your job against labor relations. There was, a few months ago, back in July, there was a lie that went out. No, in June. There was a lie that went out from the Transit Authority that I had backed my train up 300 feet into the station. Only now for them to correct their lie, but there's other issues going on. One of those issues are, there was a supervisor on my train that morning. The supervisor was in communication with me as I was in communication with rail control, the responding TSS, and the superintendent. I was kept in service that morning and sent back in to complete my job. By the time I got to the next terminal, I was taken off the train and said I was being taken out of service because of a customer complaint. Well, it has been found that that customer complaint was not a customer complaint. It was a fake Twitter account that was made up just to come against me, just to get me out of service. And after they got me out of service, they now have concocted a whole lie to try to steal my job from me. But understand, I'm ready, and I'm prepared, and I'm lawyered up. As you can see, consistently, we have been scheduled for arbitration, and the Transit Authority is refusing to give me what is contractually obligated, which is reasonable information requests. I have not requested any information other than what has been put in their report, and they have refused to give me the report. So I want you to understand that I'm not the first person to be set up and lied on and attacked by the transit authority. So when you hear people go around and tell you that I'm unqualified to run for office because I had an incident on my train, we all have had incidents on this job. And if you haven't had one yet, your day is coming. And when it does happen, they treat us all like criminals, like we killed somebody, in order to exact punishment on us that is not in line with progressive discipline. This is a serious situation right now, okay? Because if I did something, fine. However, to set me up with a supervisor that was surveilling me, to falsify reports in order to jam me up, to create reenactments, to do all of these things that have nothing to do with the incident that actually occurred, and to change the narrative to what happened, that is criminal. I am now in Supreme Court because of what they've done. So I want you to understand that I am fighting for myself the same way I fight for everyone else. I am not compromised. I have taken no favors. You have not seen me come on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, begging Richie Davis to do anything for me, because he's the reason why we're all in the situations that we're in. Just recently, anybody that tries to challenge Richie Davis when he's out in the field, right, they have let management now insert themselves in our election. Under an Evangeline Byars administration, grievance and discipline will be made a top priority. We will have a top tier legal team and union reps, all trained to ensure that you're not taken advantage of. I get calls and emails daily about all of the things that are happening throughout the different departments that make up Local 100. Stations Department has a serious problem with their union reps handing them over to management. It is very important as Local 100 members that we understand our rights under our contract and how things are supposed to happen. One of the things that happened to me when I first came on the job, I was set up by Welsh Shell. He is a TSS. He set me up and said that I crashed a train in the train yard while I was practicing cuts and ads. That did not occur. I was taken out of service and sent for incident testing, and all because he lied and said this happened. He made my classmates write G2s against me. So this is not my first go-round with transit management and supervisors setting us up to take our jobs from us. So this is very important that you understand that because the employer attacks us does not mean that you're guilty. It does not mean that you did something wrong. Because you receive a DAN, it does not mean that you violated any rules to the point of termination. I've been being put up for termination since I came on this job, and I'm still here, and I've been fighting. So don't let people tell you things and make up stories of things that are not true. There have been all kinds of stories being put out there. They've been telling people that I was in jail, that I was arrested, that I was locked up. I am not locked up. I have not been in jail, right? I have not been in jail for anything pertaining to the transit authority. So it's very important for you to understand that I have not been arrested and put in handcuffs for anything work-related. So the transit authority and the union are the one manufacturing these lies, and it is a problem, right? So I want us to continue to understand where we are. And so as we move forward, I want you to know that as your president, striking is on the table. I want you to know that safety is a top priority and is going to continue to be a top priority under my administration. I will not falter or deviate from what it is that I'm doing. It will enhance. Something else I want you to understand about striking, because I don't call strikes. You call the strike. It is up to you all to decide whether or not you want to strike. We will have a mass membership meeting where these things will be discussed, voted on, and if it is something that we decide we want to do, it goes to the executive board, and the executive board makes the final decision, and then it comes back to you all. So understand that there are processes to striking. Remember that in order for us to get our right to strike back, I have to sue in court. That is going to happen. We will no longer be pattern bargaining. We will be moving into sector bargaining. We will create a new farming out committee so that we can start to once again bid on jobs and bring our work back home. Tier 6 poverty pension, we will be leading the movement in the city and the state to overturn the Tier 6 pension, which was overturned before. It was overturned before. During the Willie James and Toussaint era, there were retroactive payments given back to transit workers when they refused to negotiate a contract as long as there was a pension that they had to pay 6% of their salaries into it. That pension was overhauled and changed to where you got the 2%, where it went to 2% that we paid into our pension, which is Tier 4, right? And that pension, that Tier 4 pension, is the pension that anyone who came here after, who was here before 2011, 2012, that's their pension tier, right? And when they retire on dollars earned, while we retire on our salary at half. And it is very important to understand that as of 2037, we will be the first tier to retire in poverty. The first tier to retire in poverty. So these are my main local-wide agenda items coming in. And I want you to understand that it's time to reject all leadership who has their papers in their pocket and who have not been actively present and doing the work on this job. Because this, what I'm talking about here, no longer affects them. The majority of them, including Cordero, have never been at their tools. This is new, coming back to work and being at their tools. Cordero was kicked out of the union for under Toussaint for stealing. He was kicked out of the union under Yatano for trying to shake down the president of the union to take over and demand that he give it to him because he felt it was his time, even though he can't even win an executive board seat or a shop steward election in his department. But what he can do is deceive and lie to those who are Tier 6 and make them think that he is this big bad giant that is going to come in and regulate the transit authority when he has never done anything ever. And Richie Davis wants to run on experience. His experience has gotten us exactly where we are. A Tier 6 pension, no right to strike, assaults happening on our members without any accountability. The fact that Corvell and our comp is now privatized, our comp process is privatized, FMLA is privatized. This has all happened under this administration. The fact that we don't have COLA, cost of living adjustment, in our contract. All of this came from the people who is going to tell you that they have time on this job. Everybody who's here that is experiencing what you're experiencing on this job, it was all brought to you by Members First and Cordero Slate. They have only broken apart because they're vying to continue to stay in power so that they can continue to be well-fed while we all take losses. If you check the LM2s, their salaries have all gone up by 60 and 20%, while we got measly 9.5% raises that we can't even feel. And bonuses that half of it was taken if you didn't go and tuck it away in your 401k. We cannot continue down this line. And in order for that to change, you need a president that is active, a president that is present, and a president that is ready to hold the transit authority to task. So today, I ask you for your vote to elect me the next president of TWU Local 100. My name is Evangeline Byars, and I hope and pray that you've received this message. Have a great day.